Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss. It is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options channel. You can post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @DougPless. I have several announcements. First of all, the Trading Companion competition continues through the end of this month, September 30th. I'll show a web page with more information in just a moment. Note also Bruce's pilot program. And again, I'll show a web page in just a couple of minutes. It's a great way to build a trading edge and to get started. Then finally, the Pro Trader webinar series goes on this week. And you can get more information in Bookmap Discord. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. So for those of you who see my webinar before, please bear with me. I want to make sure everyone understands my approach to trading. It's a little bit different from many others. So here's the basis of my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That certainly applies to the large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent 7 stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Jug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning. I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow on Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow on Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, options, shares of stock, depending on the asset as well as the way you like to trade. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer questions. Here's my agenda for today, Wednesday, September 24th. First of all, I wanted to go over news items, economic data and events upcoming for the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll take a look at some setups from earlier today. Then I'll get to the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's wrap up the introduction here with the websites that I promised. This is the trading companion competition. You can go to this website for more information, and you can receive 1 month of Global Plus, a spot in the Bookmap Pets 2026 calendar, and your pet featured on Bookmap's Discord for 1 month. Next, Bruce's pilot program will help you build a trading edge. And a lot of great comments from traders that are involved in the program. All right, let's move on now to the news items. Nothing today. Then upcoming tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, GDP data and durable goods data come out. Also jobless claims. So 8:30 tomorrow, GDP, durable goods, jobless claims. Then Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, big data release of the week, PCE, inflation data. And then 10 a.m. Michigan consumer sentiment. All right, so again, big data release of the week is the PCE inflation data on Friday at 8:30. All right, let's move on to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. This is the S futures and Bookmap. I want to point out one key level here. This is the SPX 6650 level, and that has been a key level for the last several days. We'll take a closer look at that in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's step back, take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to the underlying index. That's SPX. This is a Thinkorswim chart showing 1 year, 1 day worth of data for SPX, 1 day, 1 year chart. And the rally that began early in April continues. More recently, there was a little bit of a pullback right at the end of August, and then the September rally continues up until resistance at 6,700. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look now at a 30-day, 1 hour chart. So this is showing the September rally. That began right here. And then ran into resistance at 6,700. And it looks like now it has definitely broken that uptrend. And note also the key level again that I pointed out, 6,650. So the last couple of days there was a round trip. We'll see a closer view of that in just a couple of minutes. From 6,650 to 6,700, back to 6,650, and now down below. And again, it looks like the September uptrend now has been broken. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. Let's start with the expected moves shown by the dash purple lines. These are the lower and upper weekly expected move based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. And then the dash blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from yesterday. And SPX has tested that lower daily expected move. Note I do post the expected moves for SPX, ES, and NQ every day the day before in Bookmap Discord in the Options Dash chat channel. All right, so key point today, SPX testing the lower daily expected move. All right, let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. These are based on gamma-weighted open interest. They're provided to Spotgamma subscribers on a variety of trading platforms. I'm going to take a look at the key daily levels, starting with the absolute gamma strike at 6,000. That's a strike with largest absolute positive and negative gamma, and that level has moved down pretty substantially from 6,700 yesterday down to 6,000 today. So quite a drop lower, definitely not in play. All right, next level up is the put wall at 6,500. That's a strike with large net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. Next level up is the volatility trigger at 66.65. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. That's based on Spotgamma's older total open interest model, and we'll take a look at a view of gamma and trace in just a moment that is based on Spotgamma's newer synthetic open interest model, and it'll paint a little bit different picture. Then finally, the call wall remains at 6,700. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance, as it did on Monday and Tuesday. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. All right, so this is showing price action from FOMC last Wednesday all the way to today. It's a 1-minute chart. So key here, first of all, the 66.50 level acting as resistance, then support earlier today, and now SPX is broken down below that level. Note also the round trip. Yesterday, up to 6,700, call wall, resistance at that level. Multiple three tests of that level again yesterday, and that set up a great short at 6,700 down to 66.50, and I did post that in Discord yesterday. Great short. All right, so key here is 66.50 has been broken down. All right, let's take a look at SPY, then we'll get back to Bookmap. Quick look at SPY. Yesterday, the 662 level acted as support. That was not the volatility trigger yesterday. It is today. And SPY has broken down below that level. So it is the volatility trigger today, and SPY has broken down below that level and has tested the 660 absolute gamma strike. All right, that's SPY. Let's get to Bookmap now. All right, so again, key levels, SPX 66.50, and then the SPY 660 absolute gamma strike. Nihil, welcome, glad you're here. Sorry about the mispronunciation. Ask, where do you get your gamma levels from? I get them from Spotgamma. And I can show you the specific web page if you're interested. So I've talked about SPX and SPY levels, and I marked those on my ES charts. I think they're the most important levels. And if there's any question about that, just take a look at that. Multiple tests of that level. ES came back, tested the SPY 663 round number level, then broke down to the 660 absolute gamma strike. Also the liquidity down below. Those are limit buy orders shown by the Heatmap and Bookmap. All right, so again, Nihal, the levels, gamma levels come from Spotgamma. And note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. And today it is somewhere between It's actually right around 56 now. So I'm showing SPX 6650 at ES 6706. And note, I do post the index relationships that I use every day in Discord as well, in the Options-Jug chat channel. And Floki asks, welcome, glad you're here. Is there a room where this system is taught daily? Well, I have webinars twice a week, Monday, Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then I also have a channel in Bookmap Discord, the Options-Jug chat channel. I do post information there. If you have any questions, you can post them there, and I'll definitely answer your questions. Hello, Starlight. Welcome. Glad you're here. And Laughing Stop, welcome. Glad you're here as well. Asks, how do I calculate ES equivalent of SPY levels? So, and Amir, I'll get to your question in just a moment. All right, so let's take a look at index relationships. All right, so I have these little scripts in Thinkorswim here that show there's the ES to SPY, NQ to QQQ, and this is in real time, so they change. So I spend in the morning, maybe a minute or so watching this and kind of getting the range and taking the middle of that range. All right, so Laughing Stock, that's how I get the futures to ETF relationships. And then the index relationships, I just have I can do that in a Thinkorswim watch list, just ES minus SPX. And it'll show that difference in a watch list. All right, so hope that answers your question. And I do post these index relationships in Discord every day as well. So you can either write your own scripts or ask me in Discord and I'll post them. Or I just show them every morning. I post them at 9 o'clock before the open and around 10 o'clock after the open. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. Shifts in levels for the S&P 500. For SPX, volatility trigger shifted higher. Absolute gamma strike again lower. And for SPY, volatility trigger lower, put wall higher, and absolute gamma strike lower. All right, here's NASDAQ now, and a little bit different picture. Amir, again, I'll get to your question in just a minute. All right, so a little bit different picture for NASDAQ here. So let's take a look at the underlying index levels first. So let's go back to Thinkorswim. Let's take a look at QQQ. Zoom in on this just a bit. So again, if you have any questions about how these indices react at round number levels, so there's your evidence. QQQ. This is yesterday. 597 level support. 598 volatility trigger support. Overnight. 600 call wall absolute gamma strike resistance. And today, QQQ trading much lower. All right, so key here is the 600 call wall absolute gamma strike resistance. And now put wall down at 595. All right, so that's QQQ. Note for QQQ, the volatility trigger, put wall, and call wall all shifted lower, so that's a bearish hat trick. And then for NDX, all 4 key daily levels shifted lower. And now NDX has tested its put wall, which is 24,410. And laughing stock, again, if you want to ask that question in Bookmap Discord in the Options Dash chat channel, I can post a script there as well. All right, so that is NDX. Again, all 4 key daily levels shifted lower, so that's very bearish for NDX. That was a good indication to look for shorts today. That indicates traders are looking for, expecting, and positioning themselves for lower prices. All right, that's NASDAQ. And there's the NDX put wall, 24,410. And then the 24,400 level just below that, around that level, acting as support. All right, let's wrap up our positional analysis by taking a look at Gamma, and then we'll get to some setups. All right, so I'm going to go to the Trees tool. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. And Loki says, Discord rooms are locked. How do you gain access? So you have to verify your account in Bookmap Discord. So just go to the verify channel, and I believe you will need to have registered. You will need to have registered with Bookmap. I think you may need a free. You may need a Bookmap subscription. There is a free subscription available. You join Discord, verify your account, and then you have access to all the channels. Starlight asks, would you say the calls and long positions from Monday are underwater, and that's what caused today's drop? Well, most of the options trading every day, we'll see in a minute, and the indexes are zero DTE. So the positions, there's, again, index positions are not, a lot of them not held overnight, but and I'm not quite sure what you mean by underwater. So what's causing, we'll take a look at what's contributing to the drop today in just a couple of minutes when we get to setups. All right, so let's take a look at Gamma. We'll wrap up positional analysis. And this is the Trace Gamma heat map. Blue shading shows positive Gamma. Red shading shows negative Gamma. So remember, in positive Gamma, we're looking for lower volatility and market makers to support prices, buying support. And in red or negative Gamma, we're looking for higher volatility, faster price movement. And you can see all the blue positive Gamma down below. Also this is a 99 percentile strike at SPX 6620. And what often happens is price will seek this largest 99 percentile strike. So that's definitely what is happening today. This line right here, purple line, is showing hero. Note the shift in hero, and price moves down toward this 6620 level. Currently trading at 6632. That's SPX. All right, so that would be the target this morning, but there is plenty of positive Gamma down below. Looks like Trace just updated. All right, let's take a look. Actually, one other thing that I did want to point out today. I mentioned the shifts and levels. So what this chart is showing, this is from Spotgamma as well. And this is showing how the key daily levels, call wall, put wall, volatility trigger, have shifted over time. So this is the April lows right here. It's April 7th. And you can see how, and the white line is price. You can see how the levels have moved up. So again, traders positioning themselves and accepting, looking for higher prices from the April lows up until now. All right, so let's move on. Let's take a look at some setups now. All right, so as always, I'm going to take a look and see what options traders have been doing today. And this is the hero signal. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. What this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for the S&P 500 index components. We've taken a look at a couple of those. That's SPX and SPY, and that also includes ES and XSP. White line is price. The purple line is the hero signal. A rising hero signal indicates traders taking positive delta options positions. They are buying calls and or selling puts. Then a falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta options positions. They are buying puts and or selling calls. And in both cases, market makers take the opposite side of those trades. And in the case of a falling hero signal, again, traders are buying puts, selling calls. Market makers are taking the opposite side of the trade, so they have to sell ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. And Laughing Stock says YouTube chat is in slow mode, unable to post comments in real time. Have to wait a few minutes after each comment to post the next comment. I'm sorry about that. That's nothing there's nothing I can do about that. I think Bookmap is trying to encourage everyone to join a Discord. So if you will not have that problem in Discord. If you join Discord, you will be able to post in real time. Also, your post will be persistent, so I can answer. If I don't answer during my webinar, I can answer after. All right, so that's SPX so far. So there was a brief bearish opening drive as traders were taking negative delta positions, attempted recovery, and then right around 1050, remember that reversal in the hero signal that we saw in trace. There it is just after 1050, that peak pattern, and then price reversed lower. All right, there's another hero signal that we can take a look at for the S&P 500. That's the S&P 500 equity signal. And this chart is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. So here's that bearish opening drive, attempted recovery. Note right around 1030. Options traders take the foot off the gas, then start taking negative delta options positions. And so the pretty sharp reversal right around 1135, something like that. And again, they've now starting to take positive delta positions again. So again, the white line is price for SPX, and this is the hero signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the S&P 500 index components, all 500 stocks in the S&P 500. And Peepaw wants to take a look at NVIDIA. Yeah, I can take a look at NVIDIA when I get to stocks. Let's separate out puts and calls so we get a little bit more insight about what traders are doing. Go back to the S&P 500. All right, so pretty similar between puts and calls. Shift back to total. And I'm going to go now take a look at next expiry. So this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for options that expire today. That's in the index. And actually for the stocks there, that would be options that expire on Friday. And then here's the index. So here's what I mean by options trades being mostly zero TDE. That's the teal line. So today it looks like about 2/3 of the options trades today are zero DTE. And that's definitely been the case for the last few weeks or last few months, really. A bulk of the index options trades being zero TDE. And Floki says, thanks, Bruce. No, Doug here. Bruce was earlier, actually yesterday. So again, this is Doug. Great. Yeah, I'm glad you have Discord access. You can find the Options Dash Check channel, and please feel free to post questions in there, and I'll be glad to answer. All right, so let's take a look at Bookmap now. Let's go to ES. All right, so there's that bearish opening drive. You can see that at the cash open. Volume dots in Bookmap show market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Magenta dots more sellers than buyers. You can see buyers are exhausted here. Aggressive sellers starting to come in. Large magenta volume dots. Price drops down to the 66.50 level. Attempts recovery. Back up to VWAP. And then price reverses lower again. Remember that peak in the hero signal right around 1050 or so. And then price breaks lower. Down this time below the ES lower day expected move. And down toward the SPY 660 absolute gamma strike. And Amir had asked earlier about iceberg behavior. This is very typical. Large traders with iceberg orders, buying weakness and selling strength. Very typical. So earlier today they were buying weakness, and now they're getting their way with price moving higher. They continue to buy with iceberg orders. That's shown by the light blue line here in the subchart. And then yellow line showing stop orders. And much more typically, it does follow price, or price does follow stop orders. They move in the same direction. And then the magenta line is cumulative volume delta. But Amir, again, this is very typical behavior with large traders fading the move, buying weakness and selling strength. All right, so that's the SP 500. Let's go back to Hero. So Hero, again, remember that peak just after 1050, and the price reverses lower. And here we see it on Bookmap at VWAP, that light blue line there. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ, similar picture. Reversal lower just at the cash open. And again, right below the QQQ 600 absolute gamma strike call wall. And price drops lower, consolidates, then breaks lower again. Pretty similar subchart. Large traders fading the move, buying weakness with iceberg orders. So net for the day, large traders have been buyers. All right, let's take a look at Hero and Boo Boo. I'll get to your question in just a moment. All right, so let's go back to Hero. Let me turn off 0 DTE. Let's go to NASDAQ. So this is just like the S&P 500 index signal, showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the NASDAQ index components that we've already taken a look at, QQQ and NDX. So there was a little bit of a bearish opening drive, traders taking negative delta options positions, some consolidation. Then the peak in the Hero signal for NASDAQ happened a little bit later, right around 11:25, and then the sharp drop lower. Price follow. All right, so that is the NASDAQ index signal. And then there's the Mag 7 signal that we can take a look at for the NASDAQ, showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. Bearish opening drive, sharp reversal. I don't know if there was news that came out right around 11:40, something like that, but the Hero signals show a pretty sharp drop around that time. And now NASDAQ trying to recover. Back to Bookmap. Let's go back to the NASDAQ 0. By the way, the index signals typically are a little bit more noisy, not necessarily the case today, but they show the turning points a little bit more clearly. All right, and Boo Boo says Hero and Bookmap pretty much go hand in hand, even though Hero is options. Am I right in saying that? Yeah, you're right. So the way I look at it is that options traders are key drivers of price in the S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ, as well as many stocks that we'll take a look at in just a minute. So when traders buy calls, for example, market makers sell the calls, and they have to hedge their delta exposure in the case of the S&P 500 buying ES futures. So this is one of the key drivers of price, options, as well as aggressive buyers and sellers, large traders with iceberg orders, and then stop orders. So the way that I'm looking at price is I'm looking at the key drivers of price. Again, options trades, large traders with iceberg orders, aggressive buyers and sellers, stop orders, which are all shown in Bookmap, and then the options traders shown in Hero. So looking at the two together, I think I have a pretty complete picture of all the players, all the drivers of price. And then I have these levels, which I think price often reacts at these levels that I have shown on my chart. All right, any more questions about the indexes? All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some stocks. Then we'll get to the live market. I'm going to start with Apple. And Boo Boo, you'll see plenty of examples of options traders driving price and the stocks that I'm going to take a look at. Start with Apple. Boo Boo says, thank you. This is really helpful information to understand what makes price move and why. Thank you very much for your kind words. You're very welcome. And glad you can see this, that recognize this key driver of price. All right, so let's take a look at Hero, see what is driving price for Apple. So I'll shift to puts and calls. So the orange line shows calls, blue line shows puts. and the direction of the line indicates options delta. So a falling hero signal indicates traders are selling calls, market makers buy the calls, and they have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure. Market makers always want to remain delta neutral. So that is a bearish opening drive. Full alert comes in just a minute or two after the cash open, signals significant options activity, get your attention, and when this full alert comes in just after the open, I'm looking for continuation. Later on in the move, it may, if a hero alert comes out, I would be looking more for a potential mean reversion. But in this case, I'm looking for continuation with traders selling calls, market makers buying the calls, and traders and Apple falling lower as market makers sell Apple stock. And that's exactly what happened. All right, let's take a look at the next stock, AMD. And let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to AMD. All right, so not as strong as Apple. There were a few call buyers that came in just after the open. Another flow alert. And AMD ran up against its 165 call wall key gamma strike. Note also this pattern in the orange line. That's a call peak pattern. Very reliable reversal pattern. When the call buyers suddenly take their foot off the gas, traders start selling calls at that key level, 165 call wall key gamma strike, and price reverses lower. Note also traders were buying puts, that's shown by the falling blue line. Call buyers become call sellers, and then price drops lower down to around the 160.90 last closing price. And at that point, the call sellers and put buyers take their foot off the gas. And Laughingstock asks for indices. How do you check if call wall, put wall move lower or higher? Manually, well, you can do both. So I'll show you how I look at the levels and how I get the levels on my chart. Or my charts, both Bookmap and Thinkorswim. All right, so that's AMD. Let's go take a look. All right, so note AMD falling at the open, even though cumulative volume delta is rising. That indicates to me that options traders have a very strong influence on price. All right, let's zoom just a little bit to show that reversal at the 165. So there's the 165 call wall, key gamma strike, and the reversal at that level as traders started selling calls, continue buying puts. All right, so that's AMD. And next stock, Palantir. All right, Palantir, bearish today. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go to Palantir. And it's mainly call sellers, driving price lower. From the open, whoops. Price breaks down below the 180 key gamma strike and down finds support at the 177.50 hedge wall right there. And it looks like that's when the call sellers took their foot off the gas. There are also some put buyers as well They came in right around 11:20, 11:30, something like that. So now, put buyers, call sellers have taken the foot off the gas. Palantir found support at 177.50 hedge wall, and now price consolidating. Let's go to Bookmap. There's a 177.50 hedge wall. Price trying to recover. All right, that's Palantir. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. All right, NVIDIA, there was a bearish opening drive. Nice trend line down, multiple entry points. Testing this trend line on the way down. Then a quick breakdown. Now NVIDIA trying to recover. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to NVIDIA. So there's the bearish opening drive. Bit of chop. Then around 11:30 again, price starts to break lower. Now the call buyers have come in, as well as put sellers. And NVIDIA trying to recover. Next stock, Oracle. Very bearish opening drive. Oracle breaks down below 307.50 hedge wall and finds support at 300, the 300 key gamma strike. It looks like the call sellers have finally taken the foot off the gas. So that fuel that was driving Oracle lower now is gone, and Oracle trying to recover. So Peepaw asked if CWR, yeah, I'll take a look at Tesla. That's on my list for sure. All right, so yeah, market makers want to remain delta neutral. I'm talking about options makers. So when traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to remain delta neutral. So that's how it works. And stocks that I'm taking a look at here are heavily driven by options traders. They have huge options volume every day, and Tesla is probably the king of that. So here you go, CWR, Tesla. And this is showing a lot of put sellers. Normally it's more the call buyers driving price higher, but in this case the rising orange line shows the call sellers. There were a few put sellers. There were a few call sellers at the open, and that changed after about 15 minutes. And the call buyers came in. So put sellers, call buyers, driving price higher. 10:30, they take the foot off the gas. The fuel that had driven price higher stops, and Tesla consolidates. So Tesla is probably the most consistently heavily driven stock, heavily driven by option stock. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to Tesla now. So Tesla, the rally continues. I think Tesla has moved up at least 100 points. All right, so Tesla bullish opening drive. Deep pullback. Then aggressive buyers start to come in. So in this case, cumulative volume delta is in sync with what options traders are doing. All right, then finally, let's take a look at one other stock. And this is meant to be show some of the price reaction and some of the stocks that have been gone straight up for the last couple of weeks, last week or so. And that is nuclear stocks and AI infrastructure and uranium, some power stocks, quantum stocks. So let's take a look at some of those. So Astera Labs, that's AI infrastructure. Lightbridge, I believe that's nuclear. Rocket Lab, aerospace. Tempus AI, another AI stock. Nano nuclear energy. Oklo, what we're looking at now, more nuclear energy. So a lot of these speculative stocks, along with Micron that reported earnings yesterday. There's Oracle. So a lot of the more speculative stocks have been pretty weak. And Astera Labs has been pretty weak for several days, kind of a leading indicator of potential pullback consolidation. All right, let's see what options traders have been doing in Oklo. Oklo, of course, does not have nearly the options market of Tesla or NVIDIA, so the hero signal is a little bit more choppy. And then in the case of Oklo, I found it a little bit more meaningful to take a look at the total signal, combining puts and calls again. So this is a bearish opening drive. And then the options traders took their foot off the gas. And now Oklo trying to recover until options traders have taken the foot off the gas again and started taking negative delta options positions. All right, so again, I'm looking for key drivers of price. Note there's a limited set of stocks that are available with the hero signal, and these are stocks that Spotgamma has found are pretty consistently driven by options trades. And those are the stocks that I like to trade. All right, let's go back. Let's take a look at the indexes. Hopefully I have answered all your questions. If not, please repost, and I'll try again to answer. So it looks like the S&P 500 is kind of chopping around now. Let's take a look. Let's go back to Bookmap. Go to ES. All right, so the major move for today, bearish opening drive consolidation. There's that 1050 reversal and then an accelerated lower. Finding support around the SPY 660 absolute gamma strike, and now back down to that level. And the last time we looked at trace, that 99 percentile strike was 66.20, which would be around 76 here. And that would be down just below this liquidity shown by the heat map and Bookmap. Those are limit buy orders, and they remain in place. I can darken it up a little bit. You can see the band of limit buy orders there, right around that 66.20 99 percentile strike. So let's go take a look at Trace. See if anything has changed there. All right, back to Trace. All right, so that strike has only grown stronger. So you can see the GEX there 60 minutes ago, 152 million, 30 minutes ago, 182 million, now 10 minutes ago, 192 million. So as price approaches and expiration approaches, that gamma increases. All right, and there was a question about where I get the levels from, how I get the levels. So let's go to, and then also Laughing Stock asked about historical levels. So this is on the index page right here. S&P 500 index page. So let me show you what I look at. So let's go. The way I get the levels that I show on my charts, I go to market overview here, and then I get SPX. I'm looking at this right here. And then I mark these in my, actually I put these in a spreadsheet that so that's shown on my Bookmap chart using this spreadsheet with the price lines add-on. So there's SPX levels, SPY levels, NDX levels, and QQQ levels. So I update my spreadsheet every day with those levels, and that's the price lines add-on shows that uses those levels, uses that information to display the levels on my chart. So that is manual. And then also in Bookmap, Spotgamma also has integrations with all these. Now there is an integration for Bookmap to use the cloud notes. I don't use that. I like to show more information, and often my information is more up to date. And I show this for SPX, for the ES, for example, Bookmap is just showing SPX levels. I like to show SPY levels and key ES levels. So for Thinkorswim, there's a script. And let's go take a look at Thinkorswim. So now for this script, every day Spotgamma updates the script. So what I do is I go into Studies, Edit Studies, and I have to right-click, Edit Sources. Then I'll erase all this, delete it, and post in the new script. Takes about a minute, and then that gives me the levels for SPX, SPY, NQ, QQQ, or NDX, QQQ. So I get all the levels from this one script right here in my Thinkorswim charts. Now, looking at historical levels, let's go back to Spotgamma, and you can also go to Equity Hub here, go to the older Total OI model, go to History, and you can see past, this looks like around 12 days worth of levels. Used to be 10. So you can see how the levels have changed over the last 12 days. And that's available for SPX, SPY, NDX. So you can see, for example, last 4 days in NDX, and again today the very bearish reversal. Red showing that all the key daily levels shifted lower compared to yesterday. And people ask, is there a video where you explain how it works when they buy and sell calls and puts, how it all works to drive price, and is it always accurate driving the price, or just sometimes? So just my webinars are, all my webinars are posted in the Bookmap YouTube channel. So there's no one specific video, but I talk about this in every webinar, give many examples in every webinar, but there's no, I don't have a tutorial or anything like that. You're welcome, Laughing Stop. Yeah, you have to go back to the total OI model for some of this information. And it's not always accurate. There's nothing that's accurate 100% of the time, but for most of the time. So again, I'm trying to get a picture of what's driving price. So I'm looking at multiple screens when I'm trading. So I'm looking at Hero on one screen, Bookmap on another screen, and then a trading platform on another screen, and making decisions about everything I see. All the key drivers of price are here in front of me. Hero showing options trades, Bookmap showing aggressive buyers and sellers, and for the case of futures, stop orders and iceberg orders, and then reactions at key levels. All right, last call for questions, comments. All right, so again, kind of the key big picture here. The uptrend that began at the beginning of September now seems to be finding a peak, at least temporarily, at the 6,700 level. And one level to point out is the 6,505. That is the JP Morgan short call strike and the JP Morgan caller. And let's take a look. Let's go back to the synthetic open interest model. Go to SPX. Let's take a look at put and call impact chart. So this is a picture of gamma in SPX. Current price for SPX, right around 66.30. So that's right around the peak of positive gamma, the low volatility point. So our price does break lower. Next target down, that 65.0 strike, 505. And this strike has already grown pretty substantially. But again, that's the short call. That's the peak positive gamma. So price breaks down below the low volatility point. Gamma would start to become more negative. Volatility would increase as price accelerates down toward that 65.05 level. So that is a potential coming into the end of the month, the 30th. And Sean says, so you're bearish? I was definitely a little bearish today. And the keys were, again, that reversal, the 6,700 level, as well as a lot of these leading stocks, AI infrastructure, energy, uranium, quantum computing, all starting to move lower. All right, so that's kind of the big picture view. Again, looking for a potential acceleration down to that 65.05 level. And Peepaw says, with that knowledge, if you know it, and you see they buy calls, how far? They buy calls, how far ahead does it move price? So if traders are buying calls, price is moving higher, I would look for the next level Spotgamma level to act as resistance and for price to move up to that level. So in this case, let's go back to trace. I'm looking for price to move lower. And the target for the day would be that 66.20 level. That's SPX, which lines up with the lower end of that band of limit buy orders in the ES Heatmap. So price does move lower. That would be my target right there. All right, so that's how I look at things for today. All right, everyone, my time is up. I want to thank you very much for your questions and comments. I just love it when I get all these questions. It seems like people are really interested and asking me any questions. Again, join me in the Options-Chuck chat channel in Discord if you want to post persistent questions, and I will be glad to answer your questions anytime. All right, again, thank you very much for watching. Have a great afternoon. Watch for the inflation PCE data on Friday morning, and then we can talk about it on Monday. All right, thanks again. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.